Hi, I'm Andy XL and I'm back with another NFXL podcast. This will be the fourth of my positional looks at the 2026 NFL draft as the college season gets underway. And then this will be a short one because it's about tight ends, and there's really not a lot to say about tight ends at this stage. Um, but there are some candidates that worth looking at. But let's look at the previous drafts first of all. A total of 51 tight ends have been taken in the first four rounds of drafts this decade. That's an average of 8.5 a draft. Um, Breaks down at 0.83 in round one, 2 in round two, 2.5 in round three, and 3.17 in round four. So if we're looking at days one and two, you're generally looking around five to go on days one and two. Notable names: Kyle Pitts, Dalton Kincaid, Brock Bowers, Colston Loveland, and Tyler Warren are the fives to go in round one this decade. With two going in the opening round of the 2025 draft, first question is, are there any round one candidates for the 2026 draft? Ahead of this 2026 season getting underway, I said the answer is no, and this does not look like a strong tight end class at this stage. But here are my top five tight end draft candidates who will hope to gain early selections in Pittsburgh next April. Like I say, no round one guys, so straight into round two. Three there's probably three guys competing to be at the moment to be the first tight end taken, and the first one I've got listed here is Kenyon Sadiq, a junior out of Oregon. He's a decent receiving tight end, but he's more than a capable blocking tight end too, and that will stand him in good stead as the draft approaches. Last season, he had 308 receiving yards and two touchdowns. If he can improve on that while showing how effective a blocking tight end he can be, he may well make himself the best all round tight end in the 2026 draft. In the two games he's played so far this season, he's recorded 66 yards and a touchdown. So that's steady enough. But again, nothing spectacular. Um, Second guy I've got is a junior out of Ohio State, Max Clare. He put up 685 yards and four touchdowns last season for Purdue and now heads to Ohio State, hoping to increase on those stats in 2025. Warren and Bowers both averaged over 70 yards a game in their final seasons, and Loveland averaged 58.2. So, so Clare would like to, and all the other candidates like Sadiq would like to go over 60 yards a game and force their way into round one. But there's some work to do there. Um, so far this season, he's just had two catches for 18 yards. Draft Buzz, sorry, have him as 6'4", 240 pound, and he can run a 4.740. Overall, that makes him a bit smaller and a bit slower than previous round one picks at tight end. So round two and a chance to be the first tight end taken may be more like the aspiration for Clare in the 2026 draft. The third round two guy I got in the final one is Eli Stowers, a junior out of Vanderbilt. Is an interesting one. Of him made no impact as a first year tight end at Texas A&M. He converted to quarterback for his second year and then transferred to Mexico State as a quarterback for his sophomore season. And there he migrated back to tight end before transferring again to Vanderbilt. So a pretty twisty road he's been on at college. Um, Having said that, he recorded 638 yards and five touchdowns for New Mexico in 2024. Sorry, for Vanderbilt in 2024. He has the height of a tight end, but lacks the bulk to be much used as a blocking tight end. So he really should be probably seen as just a receiving tight end. Um, and that's the way NFL scouts will probably look at him. But with only one full season at the position in which he showed rapid development, and being a former high jumper, he has the athleticism to develop into a quality receiving tight end. If he can build on his 2024 season, he could well have a chance of being the first tight end taken in the 2026 draft, albeit as a one-dimensional one, the receiving tight end. He's done all pretty well in the first two games. Again, nothing outstanding, but he's had 115 yards and a touchdown in his first two games this season. I've got two more guys as possible round three candidates. The first is a senior at Georgia, and that's Oscar Delp. In a full slate of games for Georgia in the last 2 seasons, Delp has not even got to 300 yards receiving and registered just 7 touchdowns across those 2 seasons. Hardly the stats of a high draft pick. At 6'5" and 245 pounds, with a 4:52 40 time, Delp is both bigger and faster than the likes of Max Clare, but lacks the production. So now is the time to deliver on the promise shown and display development that will convince NFL scouts to take him on day 2. And he's not done so in the opening part of this season with just 2 catches for 33 yards. So he needs to show a lot more if he's going to force his way into day 2. And certainly round 3 is probably the highest he can hope for at this stage. Final one is a junior out of California, and that's Jack Endries. Another big guy but lacking in speed. He had 407 yards and 2 touchdowns for Cal as a second-year freshman, before improving to 623 yards and again 2 touchdowns in 2024. He's probably going to go late on day 2 or early day 3 unless he really steps up in 2025. And his reasonable start to this season with 105 yards and a pair of touchdowns. But there's nobody, they're the best 5 I can find. And really none of those 5 leap off the page at you as a real top tight end candidate. So doesn't look like a great class in terms of top end quality or depth really. So we'll wait and see as the season develops whether this tight end class shows up any better. But that's it for tight ends. Next we move into the trenches, and I'll look at the O-linemen. So I'll split them up into, generally these players can move between positions, but I'll categorise them as centres, guards, and offensive tackles. But I'll include them all in one pod. So that'll be my next one. See you soon.